Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, and please help me welcome my guest. He's a true OG, not a term that gets thrown around loosely in his case. Eric Nies, how are you doing?
Doing great, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I had to give you a proper intro because I feel like the word OG's been getting tossed around rather loosely these days, but nobody's more suited for that moniker than yourself. You're the pioneer amongst the reality world, so I'm glad I can get you on here. How does it feel now to kind of see all these new shows being brought back in motion? And then your season, of course, got brought back as well in a homecoming setting. How does it feel now that they're kind of dipping back into the well? What is your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I just see everything as numbers these days. They're just trying to compete with all the other streaming channels, and they're, obviously hurting for content. So, I mean, it's good for all of us, brings us back into the spotlight, and everybody makes a little bit of money. And it just seems like, this real world thing is like, the gift that just keeps on giving. 30 years later, I definitely couldn't imagine that this would happen, but just doesn't seem like it's going to stop. We actually got another call a few weeks ago of another project that they're working on that I
Oh,
can't really
wow.
talk about,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I
Yeah.
could speak for a lot of people that we're hoping that we get you in the full capacity with whatever that is. Seeing as how Homecoming played out for you, are you at peace with how it played out now, or do you still think about it from time to time?
Oh yeah, I move on very quickly from stuff. I don't even talk about it, think about it. It is what it is, and just another experience. And yeah, it's unfortunate, some of the things that happen, but I mean that's life. Relationships and people getting along and not getting along, people getting triggered. I deal with this stuff every day, helping people. So
Mm,
that word triggered, and family issues and traumas and all that stuff. Um, it's like my everyday experiences. So, you
yeah.
know, I just I think if there was a little bit of regret was that, I wasn't able to be in the loft with everybody, and maybe there was something that I could have said or done that would have kind of neutralized what was happening with Becky, but it's all good. She's fine. We're all fine. Everybody moved on. It's interesting. It's like, in the reality world, it seems that the people that watch the show and the fans of the show are actually more affected than the people that are on the show. Because it's like we move on with our lives, but then you meet somebody, you see somebody, and they get all excited, and they want to ask you questions and they want to know about what happened. And it's interesting being a reality star, because it's like you're to
Embedded.
some people,
Yeah.
yeah, to some people you're 21 forever.
hmm I'm glad you pointed that out too, because it seems like that way, right? It seems like the people that are watching it, when they're watching it, it's almost like they swear they're with you guys. Like
Oh yeah.
they're just seeing the finished product, but they don't see the thousand attempts that go into making that finished product. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
what you're seeing might not always be entirely the case with how it just so happens how it cracks out on the editing floor. But it is kind of funny how you just pointed out fans kind of take it a lot more seriously than maybe the cast does, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems that way in
Yeah.
some cases.
I always point out with guests that kind of came in that era before reality TV had social media as a navigation system. Simply how it's happening now, as you're seeing with Homecoming and All Star shows, of course. I kind of asked them how it was like navigating the reality realm back when you were originally on your shows. Obviously, you did pretty well for yourself coming off of reality TV, and like most people would consider you the original reality star. How do you feel like that would play out, say, if like you had the social networking that exists now back when you were going on the shows in your original stint? You think
Oh
like
my
you would have
God.
tried to be like an influencer or something?
Oh, it would have been a completely different story.
Oh,
Completely. There's no, you can't even, there's
predict.
no comparison. Yeah, I mean, it would have been, yeah, I don't even know what would have happened. I know that it would have been, it would have been 100 times more than it was. It was already big. I mean, even, this doing the grind was in like 90 million homes around the world. That was just through MTV. So imagine what that would have been like with social media attached to it and being able to have a social media arm to it. And then the workout videos and all that stuff, it just would have been 100 times more popular.
What did you have in mind for yourself as far as like what you wanted to pursue coming off the show?
I had no idea. I was young and just like everybody else and just trying to figure it out. I mean, I talk about this a lot over the last 30 years, but it was just about making money,
Hmm.
having a career and making money. So that's all that I was really interested in. I was like trying to get into the modeling world and was, considering and getting into acting, and that's what it was. It was simply that, we didn't have a reference, it wasn't like I wanted to be famous. That was never an interest of mine. I was 18 years old and I needed money. I wasn't going to college and, um, I wasn't even really interested in the business. I was an athlete. That's all I did was play sports every day. So
What sports did you play?
that's what I thought that I was going to be doing with my life. I played every sport. I played my dad was a ref in the NBA, so
Oh wow.
basketball. I played basketball every day of my life when I was a kid, all summer long. Football. My brother played in college. My uncles played in college. My grandfather's brother was one of the best offensive linemen to ever play football with the 7 blocks of granite and Vince Lombardi. So, I grew up in an athletic home and it was just all about sports. So when my high school when high school ended and I was getting into a lot of trouble and decided that I wasn't going to go to college, play sports in college, my mom said, "Well, what are you going to do? You got to do something." And I was like, "I don't know." And a year went by and I was getting into trouble and going to New York City and in the club scene and partying. And a really good friend of ours that I grew up with became one of the most successful male models in the world, like top five. And it was just an easy way in. I just got in really good shape, took some photos. He brought it up to his agency. That's how it all started.
Wow.
So yeah, it was just for me. It was just making money.
Was that a part of your process too when you auditioned the modeling thing?
Well, that's where the audition came through. It was another, like they called them go sees.
Hmm.
So you know, I I went to my agency one day and they were like, "Here's your list of go sees auditions," and one of those was The Real World.
Wow. I still think about how crazy that must have been getting into something like that because you guys were the guinea pig experiment. Nobody knew what it was. And it's so much different now compared to when you guys were originally doing it. It's almost like the genre has taken a just a complete 360, you know what I mean? You guys were a
Yeah.
documentary in a sense. And now, I mean, I talk about this with a lot of my old school guests. Just the genre now is not what it once was.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah, we don't talk about real problems anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh no, don't talk about real problems. Don't trigger people. Don't get emotional. They just want everybody to fight, and hook
Yeah,
up.
yeah, that's it.
That's
So,
that's what gets ratings, right? I mean, and that's the thing, you can't be judgmental about it. The entertainment business, it's a business, right? And there's an audience that's out there that wants to see a certain type of entertainment, right? So they're just, it's all numbers to them. They're looking at it going, is this going to produce numbers? And now, and even today, it's that much harder because of social media,
Hmm.
because of how much time everybody's spending on their phones and in their computers. So if you aren't producing content that's going to keep the 3-second swiper interested, you're not going to make any money.
What about Eric Nies, the fan? Is that something that you feel like you would enjoy? The current product?
Um, I don't know. I think, like what I do now for a lot of people, number one, it's boring.
Hmm.
It's not that entertaining. And like you said, how many people actually want to see like real emotional content? Because the work that I do now is transforming people's lives. It's helping people to heal from the traumas in their life. And so, unless you can make that look, entertaining in some way, you're not going to really get a big audience. I've been trying to pitch, transformational shows to all the networks. I'm probably the first person in the history of network television to walk into a pitch meeting with a bottle of ayahuasca. And
Wow.
that happened 10 years ago. And so now you're seeing shows around plant medicine and ayahuasca and stuff. But I pitched that show more than 10 years ago to all the networks, walked in with a bottle of ayahuasca.
And how was that received once you pitched that?
They didn't even know what it was. They were like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is a tea from the jungle and it helps you to do blah, blah, blah." The thing is, like with networks, you have to, they're not creative people. They're business people. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
you have to show them the creativity. Like you have to somehow pull them in, like with a sizzle reel or whatever it is. But, it's just not that entertaining. And I'm still trying, I'm still making the rounds. I'm in the process of making another sizzle reel right now for another show with people transforming their lives, because that's what I'm passionate about. I'm interested in that. So yeah, over the years I've had a lot of offers to do a lot of different things, but if I'm not excited about it, I'm not interested in it, and I'm not, you know, doing it myself, then I don't really want to be a part of it.
And you made a cameo appearance on one of the Los Angeles Homecoming episodes too, when you were doing your healing there, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, sort of. Not really. Because I couldn't really do exactly what I wanted to do with them. Again, you're working within their system and what they see, what they want, you know?
Right.
So if I had it my way, I would have walked in the door with a bunch of mushrooms and ayahuasca and facilitated a real healing journey and opened them up to get really raw and dig into the real issues of what they were all dealing with.
Hmm.
So, that's just, it wasn't an option for that. Obviously, number one, it's illegal in America. So you would have to do that in another country. But yeah, I didn't have the time or the space to even really go that deep with them. And a perfect example of that is there was conversation that I was having with Glenn that was going deeper into his issues, which they didn't air. Didn't fit their storyboard.
Right. It did seem that they pretty much pegged the Tammy David thing as that's going to be our story, and we're just not going to show anything else. Because I had John and Irene last week, and we were pretty much doing like a recap of the season. And Glenn, I mean, he got kind of like the ghost portrayal. It was like Irene said it best. It's like they pegged him like he wasn't there.
Yeah, yeah, and it just goes to show you like the integrity of the production, right? Because Glenn actually had a very meaningful and powerful transformation. The guy was suffering. He was dealing with a serious loss of, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's how they pulled me in to do it. They wanted me to just make an appearance on the show. All they were really interested in was for me to be interacting with the cast
So
and
they could.
not on a screen on the wall. That's it. And so they were like, look, we think that your fans would be interested, in seeing you interacting with other people. They didn't get to see that on your show. And I said, well, if I'm going to come there, I don't want to just like hang out and talk to people. I want to do something meaningful. So I pitched them that idea, to bring in my friend Ron, to do like that little ceremony.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. So do you feel like maybe they wanted you there in person because you weren't able to be there for your personal homecoming season, and that they
Right.
just that's all they wanted was just okay,
That's it.
let's have a kumbaya so it looks good.
Yeah, the reality, they don't care what I'm doing. They don't care if I'm swimming in a pool, if I'm riding a bicycle down the street, if we're talking about Oreo cookies. They don't care.
That's
They'll
crazy.
tell they'll tell you they do. They'll make it seem like they
Oh
do,
man,
but they really
I
don't.
just can't imagine you just fly from Hawaii to LA just do that.
I flew from Peru.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh man.
big money.
Yeah. So when you found yourself trying to make that transition into acting immediately off of your original real world, were you met with any contention? Because I hear that acting and reality TV don't really go hand in hand.
I actually wasn't having any problems at all. I mean, maybe today it's different, but
Yeah.
remember, it was the first time
Hmm.
ever. Um, and again, I went quickly from reality TV to hosting The Grind. So those were
Yeah.
two totally different worlds.
Hmm.
So once The Grind took off, I was able to walk in any door, you know, for sitcoms and movies and everything. I had an agent and was getting all the calls and a lot of really amazing stuff was happening. So I didn't seem to have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, and I know you do say that you move on fast, but do you ever still think about the grind from time to time and how it unfolded, or?
No, I did all that work. I had to do a lot of healing around that, and I did that for years. So yeah, I don't think about it at all. I've dissected my whole life inside and out, every teeny tiny little detail of every single person that I've had an interaction with since the moment I took in my first breath. That's the work that I do. So I've gone through a complete and total recapitulation of my not only this life but my past lives too.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing kind of how that all unfolded? Because I did read something with like a business manager of yours, I believe.
hmm Yeah, I
Is
had a manager that came in and brainwashed me, manipulated me, molested me, stole all my money,
wow.
destroyed my relationship with MTV, with Universal Studios. He was a predator, and I didn't know it. And I was very young and naive and gullible. I didn't have the right people around me to protect me. And but again, like I was very stubborn and narcissistic and had a big ego back then, but also a big heart. So yeah, it was just a very confusing time in my life, and it was brought up a lot of traumas from my childhood and abuse and all different types of things. So yeah, it's just a part of my journey and my experience, and I don't hold on to any of that anymore. I've let all that go and healed it, forgive, and I've done the work around it.
Is that what led you to maybe take on the spiritual life that you live now?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh wow.
100%. I
Do
was
you
at
want?
rock bottom for that, ready to kill
Really?
myself, and I
Wow.
needed I needed help. And so that's where I found my first teacher, and then my life would just transformed from there when I was 25.
Oh, so they taught you what you do now, essentially?
A little bit. I lived with a Far East Grandmaster for 7 years with him and his family, Vietnamese family, in Los Gatos, California. He was eighth generation Chinese medicine grandmaster and 21 Den black belt and three martial arts. Far East grandmaster, and I lived with him for like 7 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
he really pulled me out of my addictions.
Oh. Where could people seek help from you as far as from what you do? I can link that in the description if.
Oh yeah, I'm easily accessible on social media. My Instagram, Facebook. My website is iameric.nies.com, and
Hmm.
my Instagram and Facebook is Eric Nies 333.
Hmm. So what maybe caused you to step away from doing like the challenges once you were on the show still?
That's
Is
another
that
good one. I didn't actually. I at one time I walked away from doing the challenges, but just recently when they started doing these all-star ones, and after the homecoming, I was going to do the first one, but then I got COVID, and the shows overlapped with each other, so I couldn't do the first one. They invited me to do the second one, but we were in the middle of COVID, and I'm not vaccinated, and they lied to me. They were trying to get the information out of me, whether or not I was vaccinated or not. And then when they found out that I wasn't vaccinated, they didn't choose for me to come on the show.
so? And was
And
that
they lied. And they lied in the beginning. I called them out. I knew as soon as they said something, they were like, "Oh yeah, MTV makes the final decision," and didn't line up with what they had in mind. And I was like, "Wait a minute." I was like, "This is an all-star, old school challenge. I've won a challenge. I'm the original cast member of this whole, your whole company,
yeah,
and you're not choosing me." And I
something
was
seems
like,
a
"All
little
right, so
fishy
what's
then.
the truth? What's the real truth?" And I kept digging, 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 and finally they told me the truth.
Wow. So was that like an effective like door close as far as the challenges go? Like, do you
Pretty
feel like
much. I don't know.
really?
I mean, now that COVID's over, I don't know if they're choosing people that are not vaccinated or are
Yeah.
vaccinated, but they're definitely biased. That's for sure.
Who knows? I mean, if there's going to continue to be ones in the future, it seems like things are lightening up a little more. If
Yeah.
the call comes back around, do you think maybe you'd be open to it?
Yeah, why not? There's one kid, I forget what his name is, who won a couple of challenges. He's huge. He's got millions of followers, and you know he I think he was in the press for it. I know that,
For
but he
the
wasn't vaccinated, and they didn't choose him, and he came out publicly and talked about it. I forget
Oh,
his name.
wow. Yeah, I'm trying to remember as well. But yeah, that's a bummer. I think as far as that goes, you pointed out and made a great point. You're the original cast member, right? So I think if you're having an all-stars show,
It
having
doesn't
it
get any
without
more
you, it's
OG or
like
all star than this. I'm like the Godfather, the grandfather, the elder.
grandfather, the elder statesman.
That's all right, man. I mean, it's a game. Look, they play. We're all playing a game here. It's their game. They play it how they want to. They run the game how they want to run it. If you want to play their game, you play their game.
Hmm.
You know?
Well, you hosted challenges too back in the day, right?
Yeah, yeah. Early.
What did you like better, doing the hosting gigs or did you like actually competing?
No, I'm like I said earlier. I'm an athlete. I'm all about competition back in the day. So I love to compete. It's fun.
Yeah. You remember that one challenge I think you hosted when they were forget where they were. It might have been Mexico, but they had
Hmm.
there was a hurricane going on.
Yeah,
That was
that
that
was
was
awesome.
that was nuts. I think Blue it was from Road Rules brought her child on that one.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had a housemaid there, and they had the toga party.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. We had a
Did you
good
attend
time.
that one? The toga party?
I think so. Yeah, because normally when you're the host, you can't interact with the
Yeah,
talent, or with the competitors. And because of the storm, it brought all of us together. So that third wall was,
broken.
came
Yeah,
down. Yeah.
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 Wow. I just think back to those times, and I think a lot of fans do. Those were when things were less strict. It was a lot more fun, and I think like
Yeah.
that's a problem with not the All Star show, but the flagship show on MTV's network. I think that's a big complaint that a lot of fans are having. It's like it's taken on like more of like a just oversaturated type of genre now where they rely on like stunts and stuff instead of just seeing people normal people compete and do challenges and have real conversations and just talk, you know.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I think that's a big component. If the fans are seeing the talent having fun, they're going to have fun watching it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And speaking of fun, I think this was a question that was on a lot of people's mind. You had a jump rope on, I think it was Battle of the Sexes too. People wanted to
Uh-huh.
know, what do you still have that jump rope, and what was the
I
deal
think
with
it's
that?
somewhere. I don't know. It's somewhere. No, I had jump rope videos that I was producing that came out, and I was just trying to promote the jump rope videos. There's
Oh, okay.
no
No
deeper meaning, no
significance.
significance at all. It was an opportunity to promote something else that I was doing. That's it.
What was your most fun challenge that you did?
Um, I would say Jamaica was probably Jamaica. I was having a really good time in Jamaica until that doll fell out of my mouth, which should not have happened, and that that was a real disappointment. I should have won that one easily, the whole thing.
Was that would that would have been Sexes one? Would that have been?
There was the one that we were sitting on the ice, whatever
That
one
was
that
yeah, that
was.
was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in good shape for that, just blazing through. The competition wasn't that strong, and yeah, I just made a really stupid mistake. That should have never happened, but
I,
meant to be.
I think that was the same challenge that Puck got married, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a wild challenge.
And didn't Puck and David get into it on that challenge too? Was that the same one?
Um, they're always getting into it, so
Oh, really?
probably. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. You and Pamela Anderson actually went out, right?
Yep.
What was that like?
It was nice. She's awesome, and we really enjoyed each other's company. We were young. It was fun, and um, yeah, I don't know. It's just a good time
Do you feel like
having
there's any
fun.
misconceptions with her in the industry, or
I mean, there's misconceptions with everybody everywhere.
true?
Especially when it comes to you know the media and news and people creating and writing stories, and you know it's all, you can't trust any of it. Can't
That
trust
is
anybody or anything that anybody says, especially in the entertainment industry. There's so much BS in the entertainment industry. You just cannot trust it at all.
the most dangerous thing in the world.
It Yeah, it's up there.
It's
There's
up
no
there.
doubt about it. If you know the truth, if you know the reality, of what it is and why it's there and how it's used, I'm talking about the puppeteers in that world, yeah, not a fun place to be.
If it was up
Because
to me, so
the higher you get in the ladder, more controlling, manipulative, and darker it gets. The more famous you get, the more notoriety you get, the more darker it
mhm.
gets. And not many people talk about that, obviously, because if you do talk about it, you're not going to get hired. And you
Yeah.
see that over and over and over again, right? All these different celebrities that were at like the height of their career at one point or another, and then they say something and then they don't get hired anymore. They start to expose the truth and then they don't get hired anymore.
Did you ever experience like that block personally for you in the sense of, being in the public eye became like a little exhausting on your mental well-being to where like you almost appreciated fading to black?
Mm, yeah, I mean, well, because of everything that happened with my manager back in the day, definitely got a sour taste in my mouth for everything. Um, and then there was a moment where I was with all my friends. We were hanging out in New York, walking down the street, and we were having a good time, joking around. And you get noticed, and then people come running over to you. And I was like, something struck me in that moment that, like, at any moment, the moment can be taken away, you know. And I didn't like that. So I actually prayed and I asked for it to be taken away, and I walked away. And it was a necessary thing for me because it helped me to see more clearly of the matrix and the veil and this illusion that the world has been living in for a very, very long time. So it helped to, open up many, many doors in my life in a spiritual way to be able to assist myself in liberating myself from my own suffering, liberating my soul, and then giving me the knowledge and the understanding to be able to help other people to do that. So I don't have any regrets around any of it at all. It all played itself out exactly the way that it was supposed to, in a very divinely orchestrated fashion. Um, but yeah, it's like a lot is being uncovered on the planet right now. There's a lot of things that have been going on this planet for a very, very long time that is all being brought to light as we speak. In the next next 6 months to a year, you'll remember that I say this. You are going to be in complete, total shock of the truth that comes out. It's already happening at some level. It's
Yeah.
just, are you aware of it, and are you on the platforms that are sharing the information? But the whole world is going to know very, very soon about the reality of what's going on this planet, the darkness that's on this planet, because it's scary. It's sad too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long maybe did you sit on that information that you were dealing with regarding you and your manager before going public with it?
Yeah, it took a while. It's like vulnerability and transparency is a scary place to
Yeah.
be, especially when it comes to stuff like that, molestation, rape, and being taken advantage of, and, losing everything. I've lost everything at least 3 times, made a whole ton of money and then lost it all. So, um, I didn't understand then the power of vulnerability. And once I started to go deep into my own healing, realizing that the only way to truly liberate myself was to be vulnerable. So then it became a practice for me. So, years ago, where I couldn't even get it out of my mouth, I was scared to be judged. That was the biggest one, the fear of being judged by other people. and didn't realize like how much I was judging myself. And so, yeah, there was a lot of information that I was carrying around about myself personally, but then there was all this information that I was gathering about what was happening in the world, and then just watching, people disappear. There's like two things happening. There's like your own story, the things that have been done to you, the things that you have done to other people, but then there's the rabbit holes, going down the rabbit holes of information around this other stuff that I'm talking about. And so over the years, a lot of the stuff that's being exposed over the last, like, I would say probably the last 7 or 8 years, it's become more public information, that people call conspiracy theories. I was aware of this stuff when I was 20, 22 years old, when the internet didn't even exist. So a lot of the information that I was gathering was coming from books and like, black market videos and, that I would find on the streets in New York and stuff like that. So like, I wanted to understand the media. I wanted to understand the entertainment industry, because that manager that came into my life when I was 22 years old, he's the first person that would talk to me about these conspiracy theories like the Illuminati and the New World Order, where over the years, rappers like Tupac and Biggie and, the Wu-Tang Clan and all of them, all of a sudden you started to hear, that word, Illuminati, Illuminati. And then as the internet came out, it started to spread even more. And so it's not a conspiracy theory, obviously, anymore. And so, yeah, there was a part of me that was afraid to talk about it, for the fear of something was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was that at the where did you first announce it at the awards, was it? Or
well, no, the first time that I actually talked publicly about talking about what happened with my manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time that I actually talked publicly about that was at the 10-year
anniversary reunion.
Yeah, where I was with Melissa, and we were sitting in Central Park doing some wraparounds for the 10-year anniversary of the Real World. And I openly didn't fully talk about it, but I started sharing it, started to feel more comfortable to share it. Yeah.
How was that when it first came out, as far as like, press and stuff went? Did you feel like obligated that, you needed to hide a little bit, or did you feel like, you know what, I got this off my chest, I'm just going to be loud and proud?
Yeah, there was that was the whole point that's the whole point of being vulnerable, is that you don't have to hide anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have that fear of being judged, first and foremost by yourself, but by other people. And then once you talk about it, then all of a sudden you start meeting people, and people start coming to you and they start sharing their story. And you realize that you're not alone. You thought you were alone, but you're really not. And there's actually a lot more people, that have gone through similar things than that, like that. And pretty much almost nine out of 10 people that come into my life now for healing have gone through it. Very similar things that I have. So my vibration, my frequency that I create inside of my body is what I attract.
Mm-hmm.
So those people just naturally kind of gravitate, towards me, because, I can assist them in healing from that, because I went through that myself.
Mm-hmm. And also, I had Melissa on yesterday. She wanted me to say hi, by the way, because I put on Twitter you're going to be joining me, and so.
Yeah, I love Melissa. She's awesome. I always have a good time hanging out with her.
Yeah. Well, you seem to have a great thing going for yourself, and you seem to be in very good spirits, and I'm happy to see that. And I'm obviously going to be supporting whatever you're doing, and I'm sure so is the fans of yours as well. And I thank you for being so generous with your time today, and
cool.
gracing my show with your presence today.